Denny, there's been some references made to your dad the last few weeks and wanting to win it for him and dedicate stuff to him. Can you care to elaborate on what might be going on with him?
Yeah, just not doing well, not feeling well, and just he's he's the one that got me into racing, and took me to a racetrack when I was 5, and then made all the sacrifices financially to keep me going. They sold everything they had, and we almost lost our house a couple times, and just try to keep it all going. And so I'm glad he was able to see 60. That was super important to me.
So is that where the emotion that we saw was coming from, or was it just getting the milestone 60, or the way this all happened? Where was the emotion?
Absolutely all of it. I mean, I don't know if I could have scripted it better. I don't know, like a win at Talladega for 60, it would still be awesome, but not like this, not in the fashion that I had to do it in those last 10 laps. And this race, I talked about it before the weekend started, just how important this race was, right? I thought this was the most important. And all of it, my friends all weekend, we're getting 60 this weekend. And I guess we could, so I don't know. All of it, just putting all the factors. I just can't imagine there's a win bigger for me than this one. Just with all, with the family, with the significance of it, now being back on top for most wins in the season, punching the ticket to the 4, it's just all of it, the fashion in which the last 10 laps played out, all the above is why I think this means the most.
How old is that?
75.
We rarely see you so emotional, and you've talked about the significance of this milestone for a long time now, so I don't think that part is surprising. But did the moment meet the hope or the expectation of actually achieving that goal?
Yes, no doubt. I mean, what you saw, that was going on for the last 3 laps. I did say a prayer into 3 with 2 to go for no caution. I try not to ask for prayers for things that really don't matter, like competition, but it was just, I needed to see this one through all the way. And so I asked for a favor on this one.
To follow up on one of the other questions from earlier, have you spoken with your dad yet? And if you did, what did he have to say?
I haven't. No. I saw that he texted me, but that'll be a longer. I'll see him versus that. But that's more of a long, extended conversation. And but when I see him this week, we'll sit down and reminisce.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Denny, obviously fathers and sons have had such a significant role in this sport through the years. And, with what you're sharing your story about your dad and all the things that he did with your racing. But also, Joe was in here earlier talking about how his son had played an important role in your career with JD. And Joe talking about the greatest sporting event that he's ever experienced was when you won that 2016 Daytona 500. So with all that, what does it mean for a son to be able to have his dad see him back in a championship race and to be able to keep the spirit of JD alive because of JD's influence and importance in your life, and what that means for Joe to take that 11 car back to the championship race?
Yeah, listen, I never could imagine going through what Joe has gone through. Fathers fathers are not supposed to bury sons. That's kind of the wrong way. But one thing that my dad said to JD a long time ago is that he's yours now. You have to be you're responsible for him. I got him to this point, but look after him. And and JD was my my road dad, my track dad. And then when JD passed, it's more of Joe now. I think that father figures are really, really important to make sure you do the right things. They're the ones that kind of keep you in the lane of life. They are your bumpers, and I know that, I do outlandish things and say outlandish things at times, but I always know that eventually I have to answer to the higher power. And on earth here, it's Joe. And so I appreciate that he lets me be me, for one. He never asked me to change, and probably should at times. But, I see him as family. The relationship and the bond is really, really close. And so I just, I'm very, very grateful for what his family has done for me. They allowed me to start a race team. Everything I got, I owe to the Gibbs family. And, I've got two dads. One's at home and one's here. And so I think it's, I'm very, very grateful for that, because, not a lot of drivers have that kind of relationship with their team owner, but these guys are the ones that found me and took a chance. And so my loyalty to them runs very, very deep. And his loyalty to me has done, made me feel that way. So it's fantastic that I was able to, Joe was here and Dad's at home watching, and so I certainly love making both of them proud.
And I certainly want to respect your privacy, but when you have that conversation with your father later, that'll be more in depth. What is something that you want to tell him about today?
Just thank him, for sacrificing really his and my mom's life, to chase around my dreams. My parents had no money. My parents had very normal jobs, but they found a way. Now that way is a path I would never recommend anybody taking. It's every credit card that comes through the mail. Okay, we'll use it. Asking people to help, and second and third mortgaging the house, and just all these things. The arguments I had to listen to. I'm in my room, my mom and dad are just going at it. One saying, I can't do it anymore. The other saying, please, just one more week. It's great that it's all paid off, and certainly they're got the life now that they deserved before I decided to do this.
Denny, I'm just curious, do you think today is the most emotional, or at least visibly emotional, you've ever been in your career? I don't recall ever seeing tears from you before and getting choked up trying to do the TV interview.
Yeah. I think so. Because it's just, this has been, building for quite some time. When I moved the bar from 50 to 60, I had to stew on that for a few years. When I won the Daytona 500, I'd always hoped to win the Daytona 500. There's a letter that I wrote when I was 8 years old that's in my garage that my mom kept that says my wish is to win the Daytona 500. I hope that this comes true on February 18th, 1998. I thought when I was 18 years old I was going to be in Cup for some reason. But there's something about manifesting because I've won it twice on February 18th, the Daytona 500. And so, I don't know, some things are kind of meant to be. And so while that took 30 years to happen, it still wasn't that was just one race. And there were no other implications to it, right? And the reason this one is more is because of all the things, right? I got the home things. We got the lawsuit things. We've got just the Final Four, the 60. There was just so many other factors that played into today, which is why I think that it's my biggest win. Certainly one that I was absolutely the most excited about.
Okay, so along those same lines, you crossed the finish line and the in-car camera shows that you were already getting tearful. We've seen drivers come back around by the time they get to the TV interview and they start to suppress that or they don't want to show that. Was it just too hard for you to do, or were you going to embrace, this is how I feel, I don't care if I'm going to cry on national television? Yeah,
I don't know. I'm probably softer than what I put off. I maybe shed a tear during a love story on a movie or something. If it's a really emotional moment, I'll never let my kids see it. But I do have feelings. I know it's hard to believe. No. Maybe. But no. I don't know. I just know how much work it took for this to happen. It didn't just happen. It wasn't just luck. It just was so gratifying because of all the things I talked about. And then I had the ball at the very end and made it. That's just, I can't tell you because, I don't know, maybe y'all played recreational sports as a kid and you had that game-winning moment, but it's just so big for me personally because this is what I do and this is what I'm paid to do. And so it's, I don't know. It'll take a few days for it all to sink in. But I knew there was no chance. I was holding it back. No chance. Just let it go.